Aloha. Hey, it's Julie Ziemlis, 365 Hawaii, and we are doing our April 2025 housing market update for the island of Hawaii. And we've got a few missing members today, but we got their statistics and their stats, so you're going to get the whole picture here. So today we have Delaney Branham with Real Broker, and she's going to be talking about some of the neighborhoods in Kona. We have Eric Ziemlis with Real Broker, and he's going to be giving the East Hawaii stats update. And we've got Jana Mahoney from KW Big Island, and she's going to be talking about South Kohala and North Kohala. I love this. Okay, so what we're going to do is Travis Green, who's from Guild Mortgage, had sent me his update. And since what's happening in the markets for everyone in this country right now usually has to do around the interest rates and the finances. So I'm going to give you his update. And here it is. The April 2nd tariff announcement and subsequent escalation of the trade war with China has caused a wild month in the stock and bond markets, and mortgage rates felt those effects. With the one-year Treasury yield moving 50 basis points in 1 week, which is huge, and a radical movement in that amount of time, the rate on the average 30-year fixed mortgage has oscillated between roughly 6.625 and 7.25 just in the month of April. Currently, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is about 6.9%. In the recent days, the spike in the 10-year has subsided a bit due mostly to President Trump publicly backing off his threats to try to fire Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, as well as signaling that he wants tariffs on China to be lower. Unemployment and inflation data so far this month has been completely overshadowed by the tariffs and market turmoil. But now the new or incoming inflation and jobs data will be closely watched for signs of rising prices and or weakness in the labor sector. I am advising clients that are in escrow to lock and not gamble with the daily risk of whiplash in the rates. That's your update. So smart idea. Don't play around. So after that, let's find out what's going on in the neighborhoods in Kona. So Delaney, what's up?
Alrighty, so we're going to start as usual with Lilani Estates. Decent amount of activity. There's actually 4 currently listed in that neighborhood. One is at $928,000. It's been on the market 64 days.
Wow.
It had a $97,000 price reduction, but now they're at $928,000. The next one is listed for $1,040,000. It's been on the market 20 days and no price reductions yet. The next one's listed at $1.125. It's been on the market 6 days, no price reductions on that one. And the highest price right now in the neighborhood is $1.2 million. 48 days on the market, and they've already had an $85,000 price reduction.
Is that a big house? Is that like a 4-bedroom or something?
That one's probably like the 4-bedroom, a little bit larger floor plan of those. But, most of the ones we're seeing in there now are over $1 million. It has been that way for quite some time. So the one that's down under $1 million, since they've had that free price reduction, hopefully should move a little bit quicker. Okay. There are 2 of them under contract. One is listed at $925,000, went under contract in 1 day. Again, under $1 million.
$925, that's a good price for that neighborhood.
That's a good price, yeah. Now, it used to be a high price. Now it's a good price in that neighborhood. The other one that is under contract is listed for $1,070,000. It went under contract after 30 days on the market. There was one sale. We're looking at both February and March stats. So in that 2-month period, there was only one sale. It sold for $1,035,000. It was listed for $1.1 million and was on the market for 42 days. So across the board in there, we're seeing at least 30 days in the market for the most part, and price reductions either prior to or at the sales price. So, we'll see a lot of that kind of softening market, I think, when we go through these stats.
Yeah.
The second one, the one condo complex we're looking at is the Li'ilani, which, as we talk about, is a really big complex that gives us lots of stats. Last time we looked in January, there were 12 active. Right now, there are 13 active on the market. So you don't want to be a seller in there right now.
No, you do not. Are they spending? I mean, is there some decent price cuts? I mean, are people getting deals in there?
So here's what's going on active wise. Of this 13, they're listed between 448,000 and 582. The ones over 5 are usually the 3 bedrooms, under 5, 2 bedrooms. The days on market. So 8 of those have been on the market for under 80 days. 5 have been on the market for over 80 days. So they're hanging out. There's a couple that just came on recently, but they're sitting for quite some time where they're going. 2 are currently under contract, and there were 3 sales. Of the 2 that are under contract right now, one was listed for $479, so on the lower-ish side, was on the market 22 days before it went under contract. The other one, $579, is list price, but that was after a $9,500 price reduction and was on the market for 91 days before it went under contract. So again, big price reductions, time on the market, but eventually things are selling. They did have 3 sales over the last 2 months out of that big chunk of active properties. One sold for $345,000. The original price was $486, but this was an REO.
No, I was going to say, what the heck?
Yeah, so big. They kind of chopped the price down, and then it sold for under 171 days in the market. But the auction ones are always a little bit wanky when you look at the stats. The next one sold for $470,000. They started at $548,000. They were on the market for 238 days. So again, big drop from where they started and where they sold, and they sat for a long time. And then last, there was one listed for $499 that got asking price, was in the market 12 days. So they just did everything right. Lastly, we're going to look at Lokahimakai, another residential neighborhood. Currently 5 active, which is not a lot for that neighborhood because it's a little bit smaller. It's definitely smaller than Fulani Estates. And usually we only see 2 maybe active. So 5 is a lot right now. First one's listed for $1,050,000. It's been on the market 52 days, and they did have a $35,000 price reduction. Next one is listed for $1,099,000. 47 days in the market, and they had a $51,000 price reduction. The next one is currently listed for $1,175,000. 29 days in the market, no price reductions yet. And the last highest priced is listed for $1,185,000. 86 days on the market, no price reduction. So, they're sitting. There is one that's in preview, and it's actually been in preview status since April 2nd. So I'm not quite sure why they're hanging out so long, but it's listed for $995,000. So when that one comes on, it should move pretty quickly. It's going to be the lowest price in there for the last few months. Nothing under contract right now. And then in the last 2 months, there was just one sale. Sold for $1,215,000. Was on the market 99 days. Had an $80,000 drop from list price to sales price, and that one did have a pool, which is part of the reason it was in that extra.
Oh, is that not really expensive? So tell me, what did it end up selling for?
$1,215,000.
It's it.
Yeah, it's almost like one. Well, it was like 1.3 basically when it came out. So that was high even with the.
Yeah, it was high.
But 99 days. It took them a while, but they still got a pretty back over the last couple months. Yeah, there was one for 1.3 in November. Yeah, it's high for the neighborhood, but not the highest.
Right. It's interesting. I talked to somebody about pools and how expensive they are to get built here in Kona
and maintain.
Somebody actually said, and it'd be interesting if they bought that house. Somebody said that they sold their house without the pool because they realized it was going to cost $200,000 to put their pool in, and they felt better about buying a house with a pool already in it and paying the extra for the house to have the pool. So interesting that somebody bought that house in that neighborhood with the pool, and it cost 1.2. So, okay, good. Okay, let me see. I'm going to take you off spotlight as soon as I can. Everyone, look how beautiful she is. Isn't she hot? Let's see. Replace spotlight. Okay. So I'm going to spotlight myself as I use Lance Owens's information about the West Hawaii housing market. So today's big fat news was the headline read, Existing home sales fall to slowest pace since 2009 amid rising costs. And that was a national news story. And he says that may be true nationally, but not here in North Kona. While the mainland sees pullbacks, our local data paints a different picture. From January through March 2025, both home and condo sales in North Kona are up, eclipsing 2024, 2009, and even 2008 numbers. For the North Kona year-to-date sales, January 1st to March 31st, in 2008, there was 69 homes sold and 47 condos. 2009 was 42 homes, 33 condos. 2024 was 104 homes and 67 condos, and 2025 is 107 homes and 82 condos. So things are selling slowly sometimes and with some price discounts, but it's good. This isn't just a rebound, it's sustained confidence. Lance just loves that. Buyers are still buying, sellers are still selling, and the market is still moving. That guy gets a job for optimism in America. It's a powerful reminder that real estate is local. National headlines don't always reflect what's happening in our neighborhoods. Our communities are right here on the Big Island. It says, I want the real story, not the national spin. Talk to someone who's lived and worked it. So he says he's got 21 years of boots on the ground. He knows what he's talking about. So after we have everyone talk about the market, we're going to all kind of come together and just with the four of us and talk a bit about kind of what we're seeing as well in terms of what we're seeing in buyer demand. So let me replace this with Eric. No, I'm going to do Jana. Jana, you're going to be the spotlight here. Ready? There she is. Jana, give us news on what the heck is going on in Waikoloa Village, Waikoloa, and in South Kohala.
Okay, let's start with Waikoloa Village residential. There are actually 33 active listings right now, which is a nice number. It's a nice number of homes for sale. I know a lot of times you would go show houses the last few years and we didn't have that many options. They range from 689 to 2.745, which
wow.
a price listing in Waikoloa Village. Yeah, it's kind of a unique property in the far north, new construction. It's just got a lot going for it. That one is definitely an outlier. The median is more 1,110,000 for all those 33. But I noticed kind of a very cool trend. So I looked at the lower five, and the average date they were built was 1994. And I looked at the higher five, and it was 2024. So that's a 30-year difference. You're seeing a huge difference in pricing in Waikoloa Village based on how old the houses are. So the newer ones are much more expensive than some of the the older houses that you see around. And by older, I'm talking about like 2001, 2005, 1980, 1987, and 1997. Those are the five least expensive homes in Waikoloa Village right now. So if you're
ready for a remodel, right?
Three of those are definitely need a little love, and two of them looked really nice to me. They were just in great shape. They were just a little bit older, and probably in an inspection they would find things that were typical for that age house, but they look perfectly fine. I just thought that was kind of an interesting statistic.
Yeah. So what's the price for a house like that? The older house? Less than 900?
So the one that was built in 1980 is 795 right now.
Okay. So if people watch it, you can buy
1,500. Yeah, 1,564 square feet. Perfectly nice. I mean, it's a great house. I think that's a great deal right now if you're, if you don't want a brand new house, because, if you're wanting a brand new house, you're going to be looking at, 2.7, 1,900,000, 1,900,000, 1,800,000. So huge difference based on, and the square footages are not that different. The lot prices are not that different. It's the big differentiating factor, of course, is the age of the houses. You can see that. So
a question for you, Jana. Do you think that aren't the new houses being built on the north side of the town in general?
So no. Yes and no. There is a new, I want to talk about that too. There's a new upscale master plan community called Nana, Nana Kai, which means looking towards the sea. And it's 867 acres. It's at the far, far north end of Waikoloa Village. And
800 acres.
867 acres.
Wow.
Ultimately they're going to build 1,750 homes, and the first phase that they're working on right now has 78 homes.
Wow.
Those 78 homes start at 1.9 million and they go to 2.75 million. There's 5 floor plans. So they range from like 2,032 square feet to 3,155 square feet. So those look like they're getting pretty close to being done. So those are not even in the statistics that I was giving you earlier. Those are the ones that are for sale right now, are kind of scattered throughout Waikoloa Village, but these are all concentrated at the very end, at the very north end. So, Waikoloa Village is like a very big cul-de-sac. If you go all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac and past that, that's where they're building all these new houses. Nanakai. So
Wow.
Cool. That's nice. Okay.
It's a lot of expensive homes, though.
Yeah.
it is. It's a lot of expensive homes. So, we'll see how quickly those move, because it does seem like the more expensive ones stay on the market a lot longer, obviously everywhere, but also in Kohala. In March, there were 8 that sold in Waikoloa Village from 380,000, and that one was a fixer-upper.
Okay.
And to 1,899,000, and that one was new construction. So we've got it all here in Waikoloa Village, right? We've
Right.
got a lot of variety. Median was 964,000, days on market 86. And this, I think, is an important statistic. The sales price compared to the original price
Mhm.
was 92.7.
Okay. So 8% on sale.
Right. March 2024, 750 to 1420. So, I don't know, that 380 kind of skews things a little bit because that's pretty low. But the median this March is 964. The median last March was 1,295,000. But the average days on market last March was 141 for those houses that sold. That's a long time to stay on the market. And the sales to original price was 94.9. So that's a change. That's a change that we're seeing there. The condos, Waikoloa Village condos, there are 28 active condos in Waikoloa Village right now. And they range from 391 to 729. And the average days on market right now is 77. So we've got a lot of condos right now to pick from too. And, if you wanted to if you were interested in a condo in Waikoloa Village, some of them can do short-term vacation rentals. Some of them can't. Some of them allow pets. Some of them don't. So, we could steer you towards the ones that would meet your needs because they're very different. Some of them are mainly people who live here full time, or they might be snowbirds. It's just a very diverse
Yeah.
types of condos here. Let's see. In March, we sold 7 with a median price of 515, days on market 23, and sales to original price is 98.5%. So
Wow.
they're not on sale.
They're not on sale.
With all those condos, this is still the high prices. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. So because some of those are investment properties, right? And the investors a good deal, and they're people that investors are still out there. So,
well, Julie, you and I partnered to sell a place in Waikoloa Village condo last month. So we're in that statistic, right? They'd been looking in Fairway Terrace for quite some time and got them a really good deal on a condo there, and it's going to be a short-term vacation rental.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
All of 2023, I thought, well, let's just look at the whole year. All of 2023, the median condo was 458, and all of 2024, it was 518. 39 days, 43 days on market. So not a whole lot of variation there. Okay, moving on. Montalani residential. So there are only 8. These are kind of the high dollar, beautiful houses that are, up and down the Montalani area. And they go from 4.6 million to 25 million. Average days on market, 293.
Oh, wow. Those are not moving.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it takes a little bit longer to sell a $25 million place. No houses in Montalani sold in March, and just one in March of 2024. And it was a $21 million house, and it was sold at list price. So that was nice. Montalani condos, little different story here. We have, oh gosh, hang on just a second. I've got this all mixed up. I didn't write down how many are for sale, but it's a lot. I'll have to come back to that one. Sold. There were 4 that sold in March, and they went from 1,395,000 to 2,350,000. 68 days on market, 96% sales to original price. And in 2024, the median was 2,000,001 compared to a median of 1,645,000. But we have an awful lot of Montalani condos too right now. Puaco residential. Everybody knows that's my favorite place. I love Puaco. There are 7 active listings right now, and one of them is brand new today. It just got listed this morning. And it's $1,799,000 for a 4-bedroom with 1,870 square feet. And
Is that a shack?
no, it's not.
Is it 1,000 square feet with 4 bedrooms?
I know. When I looked at it, and I was like, wow, that's a great price. When I was thinking it's got to be like, SST, a scary, scary thing. But then when I went into the listing, it was really very nice. So that one's a good deal. I don't think that one is going to last very long. But they go from 1,799,000 to 28 million.
Yeah.
That area.
So if anybody's watching this show wants a deal in Puaco and you want to rub shoulders with the people who have $20 million houses, that's a great one. Talk to Gianna.
It is. I mean, man, that's a good price on that one. Not to say that the $28 million might be very pricey.
You can call us on that one.
Right. So in March, there was one that sold for $1,009,000 at 87.7%. And March 2024, only one sold that, and it was $1,950,000 at 80%. So I don't know what was going on with that one.
Motivated seller.
Yeah, it must have been. Waikoloa Resort condos. So you've got the Waikoloa Resort, and then you've got Montalani, and then you've got Mauna Kea, and then you move up to the like Kohala by the Sea and Kohala Ranch, that kind of thing. So the Waikoloa Resort condos, there are 45 active listings right now.
Whoa.
And they range from I know, right? That is so many. 875,000 to 3,895,000. And of course, the Kolea condos are the ones that are the high dollar ones. Those are the ones that are right on the water and have the gorgeous views, that kind of thing. So the median is 1,275,000. The average days on market is 115 for all those 45. So sold in March, there were only 2. And the sales to original price is 94%, days on market 147, but that's a little bit misleading because one of them was on the market 9 days and the other one was on the market 285 days.
So okay. So yeah.
March 2024, when you only have 2, your numbers are a little skewed, right?
Yeah.
There were 5 that sold in 2024, 905 to 1175. At 99.9%, and that's pretty normal. I mean, that's kind of seems a little bit more normal down there. 5, about $1 million, and they sell pretty fast and they sell pretty close to list. That's what's been the normal there for a long, long time. So the fact that we have 45 now, and the average days on market's 115.
Then I'll read this one for your market. Existing home sales fall the slowest pace since 2009 amid rising costs. So, so it looks like that might be the market there because usually, remember when the investors were out? Remember Waikoloa Resort was like moving.
So here's what I've seen
Uh-huh.
with some of my investors who bought condos down there. A lot of those are short-term vacation rentals,
Mhm.
and they've had a lot of cancellations from Canadians.
Oh,
And so I think that they've decided, well, things are so weird right now. They're just listing their condos because, how many cancellations can you
hey,
absorb?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the kind of person who had a condo that maybe because I know Canadians, they usually look for a little less expensive than everybody else because they're the Canadian dollar travels slower. However, they'll sometimes sit in those condos for three months, right? 3-4 months, and then
Oh, yeah.
once they find a condo that they like between like January and April, they'll keep coming back year after year. Then all of a sudden, when they say we're not coming, now you have to market to a whole new group of people that you're unsure of for 4 months out of the year for the next year. And so I can see why that's like what, like a quarter of your income. Yeah.
Right.
So that's
Well, and a lot of Canadians too will snowbird. So they'll come down here in the winter and then put it in a short-term vacation rental program during the summer,
yeah.
Yeah.
But they're afraid to come here too.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. Well, Eric and I
So,
are going to Canada for our summer vacation, so we're hoping that we're gonna give some back for the fact that they're not vacationing here. We'll go up there instead. So,
my
um,
daughter got back there too.
so these are Canadian sellers that are getting out of the market, or American sellers getting out of the market because the Canadians are not coming as vacationers.
Both.
Oh, okay, okay,
Both.
okay,
Seen both.
okay,
So,
okay.
and this could be a really short-term blip, and things could settle down, and then everything can go back to normal, and people can come and go, but right now it's just so weird.
Yeah.
So, but even
Travis
if
said the word is uncertainty.
Right.
but because of that uncertainty, even if things were to settle out tomorrow, go back to normal, there's still, with 45 on the market, it's going to take a little while to sort that through. It's not just going to be, instant, here we're back to normal kind of thing, because that's a large amount of inventory to have to absorb.
Yes, it is. And Julie and I were talking the other day about how whenever you have these little weird things that happen, whenever you have these shifts in the market, these little glitches, that's a good time for somebody. It's maybe a good time for the buyers now,
Yeah.
because you're seeing these sales to original price ratios that are becoming more and more favorable to sellers. I'm sorry, to buyers.
Yeah.
And so this might be a time, at least for these resort properties, these resort condos, it might be more of a buyer's market than it's been for several years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So question for that. So this is always a question, is that as it comes out, where's the bottom, right? And so a lot of people are still sitting on the fence saying, we haven't seen what the bottom is going to be yet, right? So it might continue to go down for it.
Well, the other thing I can see here in these condos is, I'm hearing Delania say they've dropped this price, they've dropped this, they've dropped this. I'm not seeing them drop the prices here. It's like they list it and it's been on the market for 3 months and there's no price drop.
Yeah.
So I think they're just kind of hanging on a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So wait. So one other option might be they're seeing the water. They can get out if they can get their price, kind of inspirational pricing, right?
Yeah.
If we get out now, we're out of here. But these guys are usually in a position of financial to be able to hold it. And if they can't get their price, then why sell it at a loss, right?
Exactly. Or most of these are not at a loss because they probably bought it
a long time ago. And they got a 50% equity gain.
Right. And
I just meant them losing money, not actually losing. I mean, them losing a little money versus a loss of the condo. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, I think that a lot of these people they still have a lot of bookings. It's not like 100% of their bookings are Canadian, right? So if they lose, if they lose 4 or 5 throughout the year, then the thing is, if you're the real estate agent that's listing that's when you show it, right? Because if you've got back-to-back bookings, then you can basically show it from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. while the housekeepers are there
Yeah.
every 2 weeks or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So those are pretty tough to sell.
Yeah.
And so, well, I shouldn't say they're tough to sell. They're tough to show because you can't get into them. It's like, hey, I'm on the island for a week, and it's like, well, it's not available this week. You just have to pop in when you can.
Yeah.
So just later we had a house that way. It was a vacation rental, and it was booked the entire time that the client was here in Hawaii. And so what he ended up doing is he loved the house so much he bid on it, and he did actually win the bid. And so he came back during the J1 inspection to finally take a look at it. That's how he was able to deal with it.
Yeah, that's pretty common too. And I think I mean, I've sold quite a few condos down there that are sight unseen. If you have a pretty savvy investor that, I know what Hali'i Kai is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They
know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
the people we're dealing with also, it's all about the numbers.
Right.
They don't care what the interior looks like. They're not staying there. They're doing it for an investment property. So
just throwing out an idea, Janet. Do you since most of these people are vacation rentals and they're doing numbers. The numbers are just not quite probably doing as well as they once did, and so maybe they're thinking the golden age of rentals might be sort of coming to an end for them, and then maybe that's why they're deciding it's time to move on.
Right. Or rising.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I think that the people I've talked to that have lost some of their bookings because of some unrest that's going on right now, does that make a difference in whether they're profitable or not? It could, it might. But can they rent it to somebody else? Maybe you can drop the price. A lot of these really good short-term vacation rental managers will be flexible. And if it's coming up in 2 weeks and it's not rented yet, they'll drop the price, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that they're never going to rent it out. I don't think it's that they're not going to make any money anymore. I think it's just that they're spooked.
Yeah.
I think life in general is that way. Nobody's quite not sure.
Unease in the housing market.
Right.
So, well, let's just say real quick, if whoever's watching this, if you guys are thinking about a vacation on Hawaii Island and you want to stay in a Waikoloa resort area, book your lodging 2 weeks prior to your getting here. You might find some deals.
There might be some good deals there.
Yeah.
Unless, okay, let me put a caveat in that.
Okay.
Unless it's around Christmas, because those things are a year in advance.
Yeah, no,
and the rate doubles and they're sold out for a year in advance. So that's great if it's in a shoulder season, but it wouldn't be great in the holidays. You might be sorely surprised. The last thing I wanted to go over was the Kohala Ranch and Kohala by the Sea. There are actually 7 listings in Kohala Ranch right now that range from $2,495,000 to $4,900,000, and 1 in Kohala by the Sea, 0 in Kohala Waterfront, 0 in Kohala Kai, 0 sold in March 2025, 0 sold in March 2024.
Oh.
So people up there pretty much live there full time. They hang on to them. They don't come up all that often. And Kohala Ranch, as you know, is a huge neighborhood.
Yeah, but you have not had that many sales. I mean, that's a lot to have on the market at one time since you've been doing this report. That's the most I've ever heard in that area.
That's true. There are, I mean, 8.
That's a lot. Usually it's like 2.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
So they're getting, and the ones that are coming on are really big and really nice. So you've got kind of the higher end, like the 4,900,000 listing is pretty spectacular. I love going and looking at those listings like that. So, there's some nice things going on at Kohala Ranch. Just haven't had any sold yet in March.
Okay.
So if we ever get a listing up there, I'd love to go up there and do something for everybody to show what it's like up there, because there's a lot of people that want to see what it looks like and what it feels like, and answer some questions about it up there, because it's a whole different breed up there than it is down here in the
Oh my gosh, it is. It is. And Eric, I sold a lot there 3 years ago. And it has taken 3 years for my buyers to get their permit from Kohala Ranch, to get their permit from Hawaii County, and then to build. They just moved in April the 16th after 3 years.
there
So
you go.
it is gorgeous. I mean, it's got 360-degree views because you can see all the way from Maui to Kona. And in
Wow.
the background, you've got Kohala. So we'll just have to say, hey, can we come do a show from your house? And she'll probably say yes.
There you go.
Yeah. We were up there dropping a friend off recently, and we looked out over the ocean, and it was beautiful, and the whole area is very pretty. And then we're driving and driving and driving some more.
Well, nobody said it was perfect up there. You know what I mean?
You're
It is. It's very, very nice.
far.
And everybody says, oh, you're so far from everything. But you are 15 minutes from Waimea because there's a high road and boom, you're in Waimea.
Yeah.
So you are a long way from Kona, but you know,
Sure, well,
probably.
you have a grocery store, you've got, restaurants and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Eric, do you want to do the East Hawaii?
Yep.
update?
I will. A couple of notes. First of all, I'm not usually East Hawaii person, and second of all, I tried a new a new form factor, and it doesn't have days on the market. So I apologize for days on the market for this one, but here's what we've got. Let's start with South Hilo. There was an upset in South Hilo. So I'll give you an idea. There were 12 sales this last month, and 22 sales this month, and 12 sales the month before that. Okay, so it's going up in terms of that. And 1 year ago, there were 20 sales. So we're kind of keeping in the same thing. The median right now is 549,000. And the month before that was 647,000. So it's almost $100,000 drop here in South Hilo. This is sort of Hilo proper area that we're talking about. And 1 year ago, it was 607. So from 1 year ago, from 607 to 549 is a pretty significant decrease in a median price. Okay. And then this goes back to our land, our list price to sale price. And for this month, it is 89, which is you're like, woo, that there's some houses selling for some cheap prices at that time. And the previous month it was 94, and last year last year was still 90. So I guess maybe that's just kind of acceptable for Hilo to be selling for such a low amount for that. But what we're missing is, of course, days on market. So I apologize for that, but it gives you that kind of idea what's happening with Hilo, South Hilo. And then the other one that we always keep track of is our favorite with Puna. And this month there were 68 sales in Puna, and the month before that was 56. So the good news is that things are starting to sell there. Okay. And 1 year ago, there were 55 sales. So we're kind of we're above where we were last year, which is a little bit slow. And the median price was 382,000 this month. The previous month was 369,000. So we have gone up instead of going down, which is a good sign. And a year ago it was 360,000. So we're up from last year. And the final list price to sold price is 94 for this month, and it was 95 last month, and a year ago it was 95. So it's being very consistent there in the Puna area.
Very good, very good. And also I've got a little extra info. So just so you guys know, these are the top neighborhoods that we're selling. And number one is Hawaiian Paradise Park with 31 sales. HOVE, which is Hawaiian Ocean View Estates, is 24. Nanavale Estates was 18. Hawaiian Acres was 16. Ainaloa was 15. Waikoloa Village was 10. Mauna Loa Estates was 9. Hawaiian Shores Recreational Estates is 9. Fern Forest was 7. Discovery Harbor, we have a listing right there. It says a piece of land was 5th. 5 sales. So Hawaiian Paradise Park is still kicking it as number one subdivision in Hawaii for sales. So now the chat about what's really going on. So, esteemed colleagues, where are we seeing in terms of interest of buyers coming to buy homes on the island? What do you guys have?
So I can start with that. So so Julie and I we kind of have a gauge, and we kind of probably get, I'm going to say probably lately it's been 2 or 3 calls a week of people wanting to move here, and or emails. And I'm going to say that this last month has definitely dropped out. We are not seeing much in terms of people wanting to come here. And again, I think it's I'm not knowing what's happening is definitely, with high interest rates and not knowing whether your stock is going to go up, and making a big move is just a little bit of a big jump for a lot of people to do. So they're sitting on the fence and seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like people are, unless there's a really strong motivating factor, they're kind of waiting. And interest rates, and interest rates bouncing around so much, prices, it's like people just don't know what's coming, where they're going. It's like they're spinning around going, maybe we'll just wait and see.
And again, I think also, I think what they're worried about is particularly is that the question is the market going to go down, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and it doesn't look like it is. I mean, all the indications say that it's going to stay consistent, but the world is kind of a weird place right now. It could be external forces that push it versus what normally is going to happen. I think, they might be thinking if they wait a month, maybe the prices will go down more than it does this month. And the worst thing would be to buy and going down when it's going down is really a painful thing.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like there's people that have this idea that, financially the world's in a crazy place, and maybe the housing market's going to crash and then a deal, and I'll just have to wait it out and see. And, I mean, nobody knows the future, but I tell people, like, don't bet on that. If the time to buy is the time to buy. So,
Right. In fact, Travis was saying that, the reason why the housing market is not crashing is because across the board, across America, on average, Americans have 40% of the equity in their house right now than in the housing crash, where that just wasn't the case. And so we just don't have the same market as we did in 2009. But the thing is too, is that for every person who thinks they're going to wait for some kind of like crazy deal in Hawaii Island, you think you're alone.
right, exactly.
Well, and then that's the other thing. Maybe the bottom is now, right? Maybe the time is that while there's a lull to jump in.
Get in.
But that's the thing. Nobody's got a crystal ball to know where that point is. But those people that say maybe I have to buy no matter. There's the people that I have to buy and I have to sell. So those people are going to continue on.
Yeah, but it looks like from what we're talking about, in general, there's no fire sale on this island. The people that are selling were basically in a good position to begin with, and so they're hanging on to their price. I mean, look at Pool on the Estates. You would think that with 4 or 5 homes available in there, that would drop down a little bit, but people know the value of that neighborhood. And look at even with Makai. I cannot believe it's just been hanging there. There's a one house, Kira has that one. It's been sitting on the market for a long time, and they just don't want to lower that price. So sellers are also saying, you know what, I'll wait.
Yeah.
So
well, and I think on lowering prices of things, some people are just like, well, there is indecision, so let's nobody's buying, period. So why lower our price if nobody's buying?
That's true. Yeah.
Up in Kohala, it seems like I'm not seeing a lot of people that are doing the price drops. But you do see offers that are accepted that are less than list.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fine line. It's a little bit of a distinction.
The realtor says, "Go ahead and make me an offer, and we'll talk about it," kind of thing, instead of the price. The owner is acceptable to a reasonable offer. Go ahead, and make one. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, and so that's one thing we did on our listing at 475. We're giving a $15,000 concession to the buyer to use to buy down their mortgage or pay for HOA fees or update the condo. And so without lowering the price of the house, we were giving something back of $15,000. So maybe people are playing that sales game too. So I mean, Jan, have you been seeing that?
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent strategy to give a credit to offset the HOA fees, because I think that is what's giving people a lot of heartburns for these condos.
Mm-hmm.
So I have something to add to that, by the way. We've been noticing there's been a few hold on here. I got a cat that's right in the middle of it. So we have been noticing, we've talked to a few people, different complexes, and it sounds like that the insurance is dropping at a few different places. So after Lahaina, the insurance went skyrocketing up, and had put on probably $300 to a lot of condo associations. But what we're seeing now is that I heard that there's they're talking about maybe this next year is a 10% drop for insurance. So that's a pretty significant point.
Yeah.
Well, and I talked to some people at Ali'i, and their insurance company is basically having them come in and do things like check the smoke alarms to make sure that those are done, and they're going in to make sure that the dryer vents are clean. And so they're having a discount on their HOA because the insurance is affected by that, because they're requiring everybody to do that, which you should have smoke alarm batteries anyway, and you should clean out your dryer anyway.
Mitigation of risk.
Yeah.
The other
So
one
it's
is also
just,
is also make sure that the valves actually work under the sinks, right? Meaning that if there is a leak, that they can actually turn them off instead of trying to, because a lot of condo complexes, there's a stack, so there'd be maybe 3 or 4 units in one main shutoff valve, and if your little under the sink breaks, your valve breaks, then you got water going down until you can run down to turn this off, and by that time the damage has been done. So that's another one of those risk mitigation. And they even have Wi-Fi things that you can put in to monitor any water leakage. How's that? But it's so expensive, it might be cheaper not to do it.
well, I know my home inspector has a little gadget that he points at every single wall and every single ceiling, and he can detect if there's any water in there. And
Yeah.
he's found it in a few condos that weren't detectable. You couldn't see anything with your eyes yet, but he could find it on his monitor, and it turned out to be a real thing. So, that's a good idea. It's just a good idea to head problems off like that.
Yeah. In fact, Eric, when you were a property manager, you went in and you checked everybody's plumbing on a
We did. We checked fire alarm. We smoke detectors, and also all of the plumbing, all those kinds of things. And dryer vents is another one to make sure that those are clean as well. And bathroom vents, right, going up to all of these are kinds of things that have to work properly in a system.
Oh.
I've also had, just to let you know, that on those moisture meters, I've had somebody that says there's moisture in this wall, right, and there's a leak in this wall, and we went and tore out the wall and there was no leak. So you're like, oops.
Had
So
that happen one time too.
yeah, so it's not absolutely perfect, just to let you know.
There's a rat.
Oh no, it looks pretty dry in here.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just next to the ocean.
Yeah.
And that complex was, by the way.
Mhm.
Yes, yeah. So in general, just to throw it aside, you guys, are you seeing investors still in the market? Are people saying they want to buy investment condos, or are you seeing anybody saying they want to move here? Because my thing is that we used to have people saying, I'm moving to Hawaii, and they were asking to get all this stuff together because they were going to make a move here. And we are under contract with 2 people who are moving here. But in general, I do not see a bunch of people saying, boy, I can't wait to move to the island. Are you guys seeing like any of that?
Well, I'm more of a listing person
keeping
most of the time. And
Yeah.
so, when I'm doing open houses, I can see, I think, fewer people coming to the open houses that are legit. You're always going to have a lot of neighbors that are looky-looing and that kind of thing. So if you take those out of the equation, I mean, Waikoloa Village is really close to the hospital. It's close to the observatory. It's, there's a lot of people who need to live someplace. And so those legitimate people, I'm still seeing those. Maybe a few less investors though.
Yeah. And Delaney, anything you're seeing people who actually are trying to buy houses here that want to live here full time?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot of listings, but the buyers I have interacted with, they're kind of like looking and seeing and kind of gauging. They're not really serious, strong, like I've got to be out there, I'm moving. I'm in there in 2 months. So it's more just, early stages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got
Those are people, not investors, but those are people
yeah,
that
just people trying
are
to live here. Yeah.
hiring, moving. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so one thing's the interesting question is with the craziness also of the stock market, do you think that people
Yeah.
turn more into condos? But the downfall of that is what you're talking about, Jana, is this idea that if there's less renters, that means there's less income. So putting it into a vacation rental that there's a to run a vacation rental has to run it at peak occupancy, otherwise it tends to get expensive for the investor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So,
Stressful.
yes.
Yeah.
So, people who are watching, if you guys would drop down in comments about what your thoughts are in terms of, are you planning on moving here? Or do you think it's a good time to buy? Well, we love comments. And we will continue to watch the market as it unfolds through the spring. And if you want to be part of our Facebook group, so you can actually, we put all different kinds of things in, like listings and things like that. Go to 365hawaiiliving.com and join the Okana, and you can get free resources there. Also, I'll drop information about the fact that we're going to be doing a dedicated West Hawaii update the first week in May. And then we also have a dedicated East Hawaii update also in May with Lance and Nui. And then if you have any questions further about mortgage, I'll put Travis's information down below, because we still believe that making sure that you can afford a home is important by getting advanced. Talk to a mortgage broker at least 6 months before you decide to come, so you can get yourself prepared. And thank you, Delania and Jana and Eric, for giving us your insights and input. And we'll see you guys in May. And we're looking at probably May 22nd to do this again. So hopefully we'll see you guys. And thanks, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. We are the only real estate show doing this on this island. If you want to know more about what's going on around the whole island, this is it. So subscribe and make sure you get your notifications turned on. So you guys, thank you, and we will see you next time.